Hey folks, it's Maxie here and welcome to another TEW2020 video. You join us for the Smackdown pay-per-view, which will be exclusively broadcast on the WWE Network, and it is Backlash. This is our third running of the Backlash pay-per-view. We've done it in 2020, which was, I believe, actually our first pay-per-view of the series, where we got a 79 reign. And that main event, let's have a wee look, was Edge defeating Randy Orton. So we've came a long way in the 2 years since, and last year we had a main event of Andrade defeating Drew McIntyre and Adam Cole to retain the WWE Championship. So in both cases, we obviously were still both brands in each pay-per-view. Obviously that's not the case now, so we will certainly have a different look in terms of our main event. Also interesting, we had Santana and Ortiz defeat the Usos to win the Smackdown tag titles. They're defending them tonight. That's going to be 1 year as champions, which is crazy, and I'm quite looking forward to their fatal 4-way cage match for the Smackdown Tag Team Championships. Not too much has changed, only 1 week off since the last video, building towards the Raw July pay-per-view, which I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm also building towards the Cruiserweight Classic for NXT that's been put in, so I think that should be the next video, and then you'll move on to the 2 WWE pay-per-views after that. One other real notice is a small upgrade to the WWE Network, but I believe it's in Europe, and I think Oceania was the other place we improved it. We make so much money on broadcasting the WWE Network and NXT, that at least makes us 50 million profit at the moment, so I'm intrigued to see how we look after this video in terms of financial situation. We've took over 2 companies as well. I've took over Attack, and was it Over the Top I took over? I can't remember who the second company was, but basically one we completely disbanded, and one was basically like a pillage. So we'll find out for sure once we get back to the main screen after the show. That's allowed us to bring in some former stars, which means we don't need them on written exclusive contracts, so if they get pinched, it's cool. But there's some people that have basically returned to the company and will be used in like kind of cameo appearances. But one features in the show tonight, and we'll have more of a discussion on that as we get to that. But that aside, the usual, we've got a legendary band, we've got an A-list celebrity, and $2 million on a special set. We're really trying to ensure that we can, get that close to that 100 rated match and that 100 rated show, just to tick off the achievements. So as always, thanks for watching, it's much appreciated. Let me know what you think of the show, if you want to buy the game, etc. Check out other people's content, everything needs in the description. Without further ado, let's crack on. This is the Smackdown exclusive WWE Backlash 2022. Let's go. It's a 65,000 sellout in Stillwater, Oklahoma, so that may be a record attendance if I can remember what we got in our last event. Bit disappointing though with our hype package. It's the fatal 4-way for the Universal Championship in the main event, because I still don't really have a proper feud I want to go forward for now. 83, and that was with Keith Lee, The Miz, Daniel Bryan and Seth. And it seems here they actually all did well on the mic. It was more a penalty of a announced team of Striker, Layfield and McGuinness, which has hampered that. So hopefully some better angles in the show and a good strong main event. I will be looking at a very average show overall. Because I think if you've got a combination of 100 promo to start with, a good main event and the boosts, that could really help going for the 100 rating. Opening contest of the night was a good matchup, and it saw Bronson Reed defeat Johnny Gargano in 11:34 with the Death Drop Driver. A 75. This isn't really much of a storyline with it, it's more really the tale of 2 wrestlers' careers going in different paths. You get Bronson Reed, the Colossal's getting better and better as each week goes, he's getting more confident, he's picking up win after win. And then in the form of Johnny Gargano, he's in a downward spiral. He's losing all the time, his momentum's ice cold. He's someone I certainly believe that if I had more depth to the SmackDown roster on the heel side, that Johnny would probably go to NXT. But yeah, he's just basically putting over stars, which is a bit frustrating because I quite enjoy Johnny Gargano's work. But in this case, makes Bronson Reed look $1 million, and the big Aussie picks up the victory. Moving on then, someone who has returned to the company just purely on the basis of when this save started they were a free agent, and we pillaged the company they were with, so it wasn't AEW, don't worry. But Rusev is back. I need more depth on the SmackDown roster, so he's someone that's going to come in. Whether he's going to win many matches and get a push, I don't know, but I need people to put people over as well. So a bit of depth, because it's a strong tag division here. There's a lot in the upper mid card, but in terms of mid card acts to elevate people, not so much. So 52, this was just kind of letting people know Rusev is back, showing some highlight clips of his career previously as he gets ready for his match tonight, and that was against Cesaro. Poor matchup though, and Rusev defeats Cesaro in 13:34 by submission, the accolade. A 60 performance for Cesaro, a 64 for Rusev. He debuts a badass gimmick, which was initial rating of poor. And if we take a wee look here, Cesaro still doesn't have physical decline, so we could effectively give Cesaro one more push down the line. Next up, we had the SmackDown Women's Championship on the line. In a decent matchup, Dakota Kai defeats Io Shirai in 14:08 by pinfall while using the ropes or leverage. This gave Dakota Kai the 4th defence of the SmackDown's Women's Championship. A 75 rating here. Io is 79 to Dakota's 64. Dakota has a gimmick that's getting stale. My reasoning behind this one, I just felt like, Dakota Kai's had a lot of good victories. Io Shirai is an unbelievable talent in this, and I felt like, it could kind of go as Dakota's luck running out, but she's flipped another victory here, and she'll remain your SmackDown Women's Champion. We then had a decent matchup between Babatunde and Roderick Strong, and Babatunde picks up the win in 11:50 with the spear. Basically a simple matchup to get Babatunde over. His in-ring stuff is still very iffy, but his overness is at a good level, so he picks up the victory here, and I think working with somebody like Roddy can only help develop him. So a good win for Babatunde, of course. The Ace and the Beast are on SmackDown, and they are causing a bit of carnage. As after the matchup, Babatunde just beats down Roddy Strong, makes that point known that he is the man, and has a 66 rated segment. Moving along, we had that fatal 4-way match inside the steel cage, and it was a decent matchup that saw Santana and Ortiz defeat the Hardy Boys, the Motorcycle Machine Guns, and Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn in 20:02 when Santana escaped the cage. An 8th defence of the SmackDown Tag Team Championships for Santana and Ortiz. I just felt like, whilst it's a lot of good tag teams here, all 4 get a tag team specialist bonus, I feel like they're heels, they could weasel a victory in a steel cage, no bother. And it kind of helps build the 2 of them up as well, defeating these guys, especially the overness that KO and Sammy has. And I felt maybe too early to put the title back on the Hardys, and Sabin and Shelley, well, they were just kind of there to put people over, but phenomenal talents in their own right. So very pleased with Santana and Ortiz, and when you consider the tag teams that haven't even featured in here, which feature late in the pay-per-view, you'll see what a stacked division we have. Possible that SmackDown could have some sort of tag team tournament down the line. We then have that said match as Roman Reigns cuts a promo on Finn Balor. So the Samoan Dynasty, Reigns, Jacob Fatu, Jimmy and Jey Uso, causing havoc, beating up Finn Balor after previous matches, and Finn's brought his friends along, 2 of them are here, and he just said, you might have brought your boys with you, but I'm going to show this bloodline, this dynasty is far stronger than just you and some friends, and we are going to, just basically send you back to Japan. So the 80 promo from Roman Reigns, and the match itself was a team of Finn Balor and God. Don't know why I call them Guerrillas of Destiny, so they're called God. And this, Tama and Tanga, just to kind of keep it semi-realistic and not steal their names from New Japan. But in a decent matchup, Finn Balor, Tama and Tanga defeated Roman Reigns and the Usos in 18:01 when Finn Balor pinned Jey Uso with a flying double stomp. So a 74 there. Reigns is like the most over. Balor's obviously the most technically gifted, but I feel like a victory here can hopefully boost his overness up. If we get him close to the main event again for one final run, I'd be fairly delighted. But a 74 is a reflection on 2 guys that are really over, 2 that are not so much, or 4 that are not so much, 2 teams. And yeah, it just shows how stacked that tag division is as well. And that was with Jey Uso off his game. We then had the other member of the Samoan Dynasty with his manager, so that's Jacob Fatu alongside Miss Paige. I'm keeping her as a manager just now, but the lure of bringing her back as an active competitor is certainly there. I want to see how this run with Fatu goes before we make a decision, because managing someone who's over could possibly propel her overness. And it's just her saying, just need to avenge what's happened to your cousins, etc. You've got a massive opportunity here against Andrade. Show the world how much of a destroyer you are, because if there are a few conflicting blows on SmackDown, and this is a big opportunity for Fatu. Match itself was superb. Fatu does defeat Andrade in 1921 with a Samoan drop, following a Miss Paige interference. A very solid 81 rating. Fatu with a 74 in ring, Andrade 89. That's why I want to keep Miss Paige around. She does some good work at ringside. They're a good pairing. They play off each other well. And basically Andrade is happy to put Jacob Fatu over. It's one of the promises we've got, so expect a couple of rematches. Jacob Fatu getting some victories and a propel to a high upper mid-card slot. We then have an open challenge. Jay White says, he's willing to put this title on the line against anyone, the IC title that is. And Ace Austin says he's got the Money in the Bank case, he can pick up the Universal Championship whenever he wants. So why doesn't he just take the championship off Jay White? And hell, maybe at the end of the night he'll be sitting there with 2 championship belts. So let's get down to it. Jay White versus Ace Austin, an 81 for the segment. How will the match itself go? I've got a feeling this will do well, but will be heavily hurt by psychology. It wasn't. It was actually fantastic. Holy crap, I wish that was the main event. And about had fantastic heat and great wrestling. Ace Austin defeats Jay White in 28:04 with a handful of the tights. Ace Austin is your new IC champion. Just a 71 performance for Jay White, which I'm very shocked at. But a 90 performance from Ace Austin. He's developed into an unbelievable worker in this, and rightly becomes the IC champion. In 89, I bet a lot of folk were thinking that Money in the Bank cash-in was happening straight off the bat. But overall, delighted with that. He can have a good run with the IC title. Jay White was constantly making pay-per-views and not really much happening. Ace Austin's always going to have a storyline. I've got an idea of who I want in my face coming out of this, but a good win for Ace. And yeah, 89's fantastic. Whether my main event tops that, I'd be very surprised. Speaking of which, it is main event time. The Fatal 4-Way for the Universal Championship. And Seth Rollins says he's held many belts in his career, but it's been a while since he's had one, and he feels tonight is his night. He is going to become the Universal Champion. And that promo was an 81. I'm nervous here, I'm nervous. Also an 81. I feel that's been hampered by the announcing, so I find it quite interesting that this gets hampered by the announcing, but the co-main doesn't. Interesting, isn't it? If you get any ideas why that's happening, let me know, because I'm still learning. Sort of good thing about the YouTubers, people can let you know. But it was an exceptional matchup. Keith Lee defeats Daniel Bryan, The Miz, and Seth Rollins in 27:57, when Keith Lee pinned The Miz with a power slam. 4th defence of the Universal Championship for Keith Lee. The Miz, the weak link, is obviously 3 phenomenal guys. The Miz, whilst in ring, he's okay. His character's the thing that propels him to another level. Far too early still to take the belt off Keith Lee, as I said, and yeah, just another win. And we just need to learn to bask in his glory. However, after the matchup, getting absolutely sick of Keith Lee always, hogging the glory, taking the victories, and just frustration really boiling over, Daniel Bryan beats the hell out of him and basically makes him tap out, hits the label lock, or the yes lock, I don't know, whatever he's calling it, this save. But he's a heel. I've got a feeling this may actually flop because he's built it up for 25 segments, so usually you get heel turns and face turns with like 5-6 segments with me, maybe shorter. But this one I've built up with nothing else. And yeah, complete success. That's a long built one over, SmackDown shows. And I did say I wanted Keith Lee to work with Daniel Bryan because Bryan's psychology is top level, and if he can pass some of that on to Keith Lee, it gives us another solid guy in the main event that can carry matches. So the show itself does get an 87, so saved by the boosts. Doesn't give us any popularity changes, so gives you an idea of how good a show we need to get now to get popularity changes. But what a difference. You change what your product is, you change what your show's judged on, and you can certainly notice the differences from now, obviously, because we're a much bigger company than we were at the start when we were kind of the 70s and we were struggling to get any higher. But we're still a long way off getting that 100 rating, and it's up to me just to find what works, and pretty God we finally get a good commentary team. So as always, no post-show comments for myself. I was fairly happy with how that went. We'll flicker back into the main screen. We'll obviously have an idea of how much money we made last month. It won't be as much as usual because of the I'd like profit and then just put another 47 million into the network. So there's that. We'll also get a wee look at our July Wrestler of the Year, etc. Kind of idea. But the thing with the 100 rated shows and that is, it also gives us a better opportunity to try and win Company of the Year, which is something I've never won in TW because I've always tended to book popularity rather than actual wrestling shows. So I'll be intrigued to see how we do. So this might take a wee bit of time, but it allows me to blather on anyway. But yes, I'm hoping to just get a couple of shows in the upcoming weeks. So what I've also toyed with doing is, because obviously I kind of need a bit more time to get week by week, there might be some shows like an insurrection type thing, or just like rebellions, just like a show in the UK or an event in India. Crown Jewel might come back just purely now because we're so over in so many countries and we could take more of a risk. So a lot to cover here, so we'll quickly go with it. Let's see what we've got. Wrestler of the Year was Kenny Omega. He's in pole position to take Wrestler of the Year. Company of the Year, WWE. Whoa, we've started well then, let's keep that up. Team of the Year, Cody Rhodes and Pac. Match of the Year, Kenny versus Chris Jericho in a tables match. Show of the Year, New Japan's Wrestle Kingdom. Young Wrestler of the Year, Hijo de Villano 3. Veteran Wrestler of the Year, Chris Jericho. Female Wrestler of the Year, Maya Iwatani. Have we got her under contract? We don't. It's my AEW say if she's under contract. Independent Wrestler of the Year is Masato Yoshino. Big Show has entered the WWE Hall of Fame, so the game's done that itself, but let's be honest, it's a well-deserved accolade. Other things I noticed there. Cash Wheeler to stay with AEW. I'd love to know what the contract of Dax Harwood is. Expires in a year, 5 months and 3 weeks. Would you really try and sign one to wait on the other? And to be fair, with him being 38, Wheeler being 35, the time you get them together it could be 40. Did I bring Revival back? Ah well, I can't. Vince has a hiring veto, which is fine. He's got that with a few guys that have left for AEW, so it kind of adds a wee bit of realism. So I am actually okay with that. The Oz Academy Voyage 2022 had 3 million people watch it, and that's just obviously up and comers. A lot of them you can see there, not Japanese names because they have been talents that we've sent over, and hopefully they can develop into very solid workers to give us a good women's division. So 50 million, we lost 28 million, but if you look at the reason we lost 28 million, the big factor, 103 million was pumped into developmental. So if we take away the usual, let's say 40 million more, 45 million more, 46 even than we did there, you're talking 14 million profit, and that's probably about 80 million, the same as it's been every other year. So I'll probably put a bit more in, not as much. You can see there NXT made us $26 million in comparison to, look at that, a couple of months ago it was making 11, 12. That's because that's gained in size, so believe it or not, we own the top 2 size companies in the world. WWE, NXT is large, so NXT is bigger than AEW. Ace Austin was a massive part of that, and we are going to be losing a lot of pop quite quickly, so I expect this to drop as well with him there. But hopefully we can turn MJF into the big superstar there. But as I say, 78, I feel like we are going to lose that pretty quickly. If we actually get the company over in a few other places, we could get to Titanic, but I feel we are going to lose pop in a few places and we'll probably drop back down. But I don't mind, as I say, it's developmental for a reason, and when they're ready, those guys and girls go to the main roster. And speaking of which, we'll do our usual end of episode look at people's overness. And there you go, Ace Austin, 90s across the board, are we? Apart from in India. So the guy is really, really over. So for a guy that was 53 over and has just absolutely blossomed, I've given him the mega push and it's absolutely worked so far. Andrade took quite a hit, but I'm hoping that helps Jacob Fatu. A few overness gain for Babatunde. Bronson Reed still in the low 70s. Dakota Kai, low to mid 60s. Daniel Bryan still quite high. Finn Balor, he's gaining a little bit of that victory there. Io Shirai's dropped a couple. Jay White still fairly over, but that certainly helps in the case of Ace Austin, as we saw. Keith Lee is nearly over as The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Kevin Owens is mid 70s. Miss Page, you can already see with the whole dragging down as well, the roster's so much smaller than it would be for Raw, so that's something that you work on, because this is a 3-hour show as well now. So she's pretty much the same. No real gains, maybe 1 or 2 in places, but she's gained 5 in a year, so she's getting over, but maybe not quite as over as I would like. Roman Reigns is still mid 90s, which is really good. Rusev there, high 50s. Seth Rollins, absolutely fantastic. The Miz, yeah, pretty good position as well. So the company's in a good position at the moment, I'd say that. It's just trying to get these achievements in the game, which are it's an added challenge. It's fun, and I want to be a completist, but yeah, it's going to make it pretty tricky. So next up will be that show from NXT, the Cruiserweight Classic. Then after that, you'll join us for Raw's Extreme Rules, and then after that we have No Mercy for SmackDown. I might fire something in here before SummerSlam. And we've got Retribution and Hell in a Cell in September. So apart from that, cheers for tuning in. I always blabber on at the end, but it gives you a good idea of where everything's going in the world of the save, and just to make sure we never missed anything. We get 50 million people watching the network. Also should confirm as well, that went in at number... My 10th best show didn't gain pop, which is mad. And it was our second best attended show. Stomping Grounds just surpassed it. And of course that's just in the network, so that's more of a viewership where it absolutely smashed out of the park. So as always, thanks for watching, take it easy, and yeah, hopefully you'll join us as we are on the road to SummerSlam. See you later, bye bye.